Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching WION World this one, and this is World DNA with me, Jyots Nagman. Let's begin with the headlines. U.S. military launches a fresh wave of strikes on Iran, marking the third round of attacks this week after Tehran targeted a Cyprus-flagged container ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says Iran will pay for its poor choice. Iran's Revolutionary Guards announced closure of Strait of Hormuz until further notice due to what it describes as unlawful intervention of the United States in West Asia. Lebanese officials confirmed to AFP that Beirut will participate in planned talks with Israel next week after previously making an Israeli withdrawal from certain areas a condition for joining the negotiations. Ukraine strikes 13 Russian vessels in the Sea of Azov as part of a major campaign aimed at enforcing a fuel crisis on Moscow. "15 Indian tourists killed after the speedboat they were traveling in capsized off Vietnam Island." President Murmu, PM Modi expressed grief. U.S. citizen working for a humanitarian organization in Congo tests positive for Ebola virus as the Central African country struggles to contain the outbreak. Several New York Times journalists summoned to testify under oath after they reported alleged security concerns involving President Trump's new Air Force One plane. Typhoon Bobby makes landfall in eastern China after forcing the evacuation of nearly 2 million people. South Korea's once world-beating stock market has tumbled into a bear market, but the sell-off has left Korean equities trading at their cheapest valuations in years. This has prompted investors to weigh fresh buying opportunities. And England beat Norway 2-1 in extra time following a brace by Jude Bellingham. The Three Lions have qualified for the semi-finals for the first time since 2018. We begin with big developments coming in from West Asia. The U.S. military has now announced the launch of a new round of strikes against Iran. And in a statement, the U.S. Central Command has said that the strikes were launched after the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Co. attacked a Cyprus-flagged container ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Now, CENTCOM said the operation was aimed at imposing a heavy cost on Iran by further degrading its ability to target civilian mariners and commercial vessels passing through the strategic waterway. Now, the strikes, according to CENTCOM, were carried out at the direction of President Donald Trump. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has said Iran made a poor choice and now they pay. Now, Iranian state media say that the IRGC fired warning shots at a vessel using a non-authorized route. The guards have announced that Hormuz would be closed until further notice due to what it described as unlawful intervention by United States in West Asia. The developments threaten to further complicate efforts to salvage U.S.-Iran negotiations after both sides exchanged strikes over the past few days. Well, in other developments from West Asia, the United States has begun withdrawing its advanced F-22 Raptor stealth fighter jets from an Israeli airbase, signaling a shift in its military posture after weeks of heightened tensions with Iran. At least 10 F-22 Raptors have reportedly departed Israel's Ovda airbase and flown to Area Fairford in the United Kingdom as part of their return to the United States. Now, the aircraft had been deployed to Israel ahead of and during the recent confrontation with Iran, where they supported American air operations and strengthened regional deterrence. The F-22 Raptor is regarded as one of the world's most advanced air superiority fighters. Its stealth technology, super cruise capability, and advanced sensors make it a key asset for gaining control of contested airspace. The Raptor was primarily designed as an air superiority fighter. Over time, it has integrated ground attack, electronic warfare, and signals intelligence capabilities. It is widely considered by aviation experts to be the most dominant and capable air dominance fighter ever built. Now, the deployment itself was unusual. The United States has sent around a dozen F-22s to Israel in February as Washington expanded its military presence in West Asia amid rising tensions with Iran. And now their withdrawal comes despite continued tensions between Washington and Tehran. Although the recent fighting has subdued, diplomatic and military friction does remain high, and with both sides continuing to exchange warnings over regional security and navigation in the Strait of Hormuz. No, military analysts say that the move does not necessarily indicate a reduction in American commitment to Israel or the region. Instead, it reflects a routine repositioning of air assets after the completion of operational requirements. Now, the U.S. continues to maintain a significant military presence across West Asia, including fighter aircraft, bombers, naval forces, and missile defense systems capable of responding rapidly, that is, if the security situation deteriorates. Well, for now, the Raptors are being moved, but the American military footprint across West Asia remains firmly in place. Now, Russia has launched another round of attacks on Ukraine on Saturday, killing 8 people and wounding dozens of others. A barrage of missiles, drones, and guided bombs hit capital Kiev, wounding 12 people, including 2 children. In Kiev, eyewitnesses reported 2 series of explosions in the early hours, with an air alert siren sounding minutes after the first blast. The northern city of Sumy was also hit in the latest wave of attacks, with Russia using guided aerial bombs. The city's mayor said 5 people, including a young girl, was killed in the strike. A CCTV footage showed a woman sheltering a child on a street at the moment of an explosion from Russian strikes. Video footage showed customers sitting inside a coffee shop fleeing after the explosion. In another instance, one other person was killed in a Russian attack on the eastern town of Slovyansk. Ukrainian authorities also informed that a Russian missile strike on the southern city of Odessa killed 2 people. Now, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia launched more than 120 drones and 12 missiles overnight, with around half of the missiles identified as ballistic. He posted videos of emergency teams working in the smoke and rubble of ruined buildings.
Today, Russia launched another ballistic missile attack against Ukraine, with Kyiv as the primary target. There was also a devastating Russian bombing of Sumy and a missile strike on Odessa. My condolences go to the families and loved ones of those who were killed. Throughout the day, Russia also launched Shahed drones and other attack drones against the Kharkiv, Dnipro, Sumy, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia regions.
The latest strike marks the second time in less than a week that missiles hit before an air alert was issued. An advisor to Ukraine's defense minister said that impacts before the sirens indicate that Russia had used S-400 anti-aircraft missiles to carry out strikes on the ground. He added that S-400 missiles are more difficult to detect by radar. Now, amidst this, President Zelensky has repeated his plea for allies to send more military aid to help it fight off the Russian attacks. He said the air defenses managed to shoot down most of the targets, but not the ballistic ones. He also urged the U.S. to swiftly follow through on its pledge to license Ukraine to make Patriot air defense systems.
There should not be weeks of delay between announcing support packages for Ukraine and actually delivering them. This is the responsibility of everyone involved in Ukraine's diplomatic work. Ukrainian soldiers need more equipment and greater capabilities to protect lives and defend people from Russian evil.
Now, on Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would allow Ukraine to manufacture the missiles. Zelensky said on Thursday that technical details still need to be agreed upon. Ukraine, which is critically low on munitions for its Patriot air defense systems, has been largely unable to down ballistic missiles which travel at several times the speed of sound. Now, a tragic accident has claimed the lives of at least 15 Indian tourists in Vietnam. A speedboat carrying visitors overturned near the popular holiday destination of Phu Quoc Island, triggering a major rescue operation. And authorities say rough weather is likely to have caused the accident, while India's embassy is coordinating with local officials. At least 15 Indian tourists were killed after a speedboat capsized off Vietnam's southern island of Phu Quoc on Saturday. Now, according to Vietnamese authorities, the boat was carrying 36 people when it overturned around 400 meters from the Merut Nagoye Islet, a popular tourist destination known for its beaches and diving spots. Rescue teams, including Coast Guard vessels and nearby tourist boats, rushed to the scene, and 21 people were rescued and taken to hospital, with 2 reported to be in critical condition. Initial investigations suggest that the speedboat may have overturned due to strong winds and high waves. Now, India's embassy in Vietnam confirmed that several Indian nationals were on board and said it is working with Vietnamese authorities to establish the exact details of the incident and assist those affected. According to reports, the victims were part of a tourist group visiting Phu Quoc. Vietnamese media has released the names of passengers on board, with several members of the travel group believed to be among those killed. Authorities continue to verify the number of survivors while the search and recovery operation remains underway. Now, the tragedy comes as Phu Quoc experiences a tourism boom, attracting millions of international visitors every year. However, Vietnam has witnessed several fatal boating accidents in recent years, often linked to severe weather and maritime safety concerns. Now, the cause of this accident remains under investigation, but officials say adverse weather appears to be the primary factor behind the deadly capsizing. India is closely monitoring the situation as rescue and identification efforts continue. All right, moving up, prominent Pakistani Islamic scholar has issued a fatwa declaring cryptocurrency trading haram under Islamic law. Now, the ruling was made public by one of Pakistan's leading Sunni seminaries. The fatwa is issued by Islamic scholar Mufti Muhammad Taqi Usmani. The declaration comes as Pakistan moves to regulate and promote its virtual assets sector under a former regulatory framework after years of uncertainty. However, cryptocurrencies have long remained controversial among Islamic scholars. Now, critics argue that high volatility, speculative nature, and lack of physical backing make them comparable to gambling or involve excessive uncertainty. Now, practices which are prohibited under Islamic finance principle, the fatwa, while not legally binding, could influence how many Muslims in Pakistan view cryptocurrency trading and investment. Now, potentially it shapes public opinion around digital assets. Pakistan's crypto push has drawn global attention after Islamabad signed a memorandum of understanding with SC Financial Technologies. This is an affiliate linked to World Liberty Financial, associated with Trump's family in January this year. Now, this is to explore the use of a US dollar-pegged stablecoin for cross-border payments. India is quietly rewriting how it prepares its youth for work. And according to the National Sample Survey's 79th round, nearly a quarter of Indians aged 15 to 29 are neither studying, working, or training. And that's a demographic dividend at risk of turning into liability. In this next report, we decode India's plan to tackle that problem. Take a look.
30-40 years ago, apprenticeship used to be very popular in India and globally. It was an excellent way to enter the manufacturing sector through a learning by doing approach rather than straight from school. Now that provided skills to the youth and enterprises, creating a win-win. So the Indian government has leaned towards that, and its answers to the problem has two tracks. First, the restructured Skill India program with a 8,800 crore rupees or $923 million outlay through 2026. And the scheme folds the National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, PMKVY 4.0, and community-level training into one system. National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, or NAPS, itself has trained over 50 lakh apprentices since 2016. The scheme gives 25% in stipends capped at 1,500 rupees per month with the employers. Firms with 30 plus workers are legally mandated to keep apprentices at 2.5 to 15% of their workforce, a lever largely underused until now. Second is a PM internship scheme launched in 2024, aiming for a 1 crore placements across India's top 500 companies by CSR spend. The scheme offers 5,000 to 9,000 rupees monthly stipends. Early rounds have seen over 6.5 lakh applications for barely 1.27 lakh slots. That is proof of our appetite, but also of a wide execution gap. The economic logic is sound. Manufacturing needs shop floor ready workers, not just degree holders. AI and automation are compressing the shelf life of classroom curricula, learning by doing skills faster than reworking university syllabi. The apprenticeship is cheaper, firms get subsidized, pre-vetted talent, the state avoids building parallel training infrastructure from scratch. The risk is conversion. Historically, India's apprenticeship completion to employment rates have lagged advanced economies like Germany, where apprenticeship absorbs nearly half of upper secondary students. Without stronger employer incentives and stricter mandate enforcement, this could remain a stipend scheme rather than a talent pipeline. For India's Viksit Bharat ambitions, the infrastructure exists. What's needed now is scale enforcement and industry buy-in, and not another policy announcement. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
No, it was not a memorable evening for Erling Haaland or Harry Kane, but it was an evening that English fans would certainly cherish as England edged past Norway 2-1 in extra time and qualified for the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup 2026. England had the early momentum in the first half, but it was Norway who drew first blood. Norwegian winger Andreas Schjelderup scored the first goal with a rasping shot in the 36th minute. Just when it looked like Norway would finish the first half with a 1-0 lead, Lady Luck favored the Three Lions as England's Jude Bellingham rifled an equalizer in the stoppage time of the first half. Bellingham's low shot came after Norwegian goalkeeper Göran Nielsen's goal kick struck an overhead television camera cable, which should have ideally led to a restart. While the Three Lions once again breathed a huge sigh of relief in the second half after Torbjørn Higgum's goal in the 55th minute was ruled out as a foul by VAR. As the Miami Heat kept baking down on the players, both teams finished with a stalemate at 1-1. While taking the game into extra time, Norway took a huge call by substituting Erling Haaland. However, that decision backfired as England's Jude Bellingham scored his second and the winning goal in the 93rd minute, following a slip-up by Norwegian goalkeeper Nyland. Well, going into the match, the bout was dubbed as a clash of the World Cup's top contenders for the Golden Boot. Norway's Erling Haaland versus England's Harry Kane. But that never really materialized. However, fans got treated to a thriller that went down the wire. England will next play Argentina or Switzerland in the semi-final of the FIFA World Cup 2026. And this is also the first time that England have qualified for the semi-final since 2018. Well, star Jennifer Garner is back with a new drama titled The 5-Star Weekend at the Los Angeles premiere. The actor opened up about how acting constantly pushes her beyond her comfort zone, saying every challenging role has helped her grow, not just as an artist, but as a person. Well, Garner leads the adaptation of Ellen Hildenbrand's best-selling novel, The 5-Star Weekend. She plays a popular food influencer whose life is turned upside down after the sudden loss of her husband. Hoping to heal, she invites 4 close friends, each representing a different chapter of her life, for a weekend getaway in Nantucket. But as old memories resurface, long-held secrets come to light and relationships are put to the test. The series also stars Chloe Sevigny, Darcy Carden, Regina Hall, and Gemma Chan.
I think that the job requires you to do something you're terrified of absolutely very regularly, whether that is to deliver, to go into a scene that's emotionally really difficult and full, or to act with heroes like I have gotten the chance to in this project. And it does, you do work that muscle, and it does help you grow in that way.
Yeah, Chloe Sevigny shared that her former Big Love co-star Jean Triplehorn has remained her steady support through life's ups and downs. The 5-Star Weekend begins streaming from July 9th. In Hong Kong, a 3-decade-old law that disallowed the entry of dogs into restaurants becomes nullified, and the decision led to the celebration by the dog owners and their 4-legged friends. 900 restaurants were given the permit to run the dog-friendly business. We'll leave you with a report on that. Do stay tuned. News and updates will follow on the other side. You're watching WION World this one.
我係咪食夾咗先？出街就唔係食嘢啦。哦，係咩時候？有好嘢啊！呢啲啊就係好嘢啊！實踩慳㗎。Good girl。有啲食喎。咁即係到舊嘅嘢食。唔係佢兩嘢。佢就會覺得就係話哇！我以後呢度有嘢食，我都。
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
On Wings this week, we try kulfis in New Delhi. And look at how robots replace real elephants in Kerala's temples. We also cover the San Fermin Festival in Spain. And a medieval festival in Brussels. Only on WION. World is One.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION.
Bringing loved ones back to life. From redefining the sport of Taekwondo to creating a dystopian version of warfare with battlefield robots. AI presents a mirror to humanity. It will do what we ask it to do. Catch both sides of the story on this episode of Tech It Out this week at these times.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan John. Now, let's start with the headlines. Ukrainian President Zelensky says Russia launched more than 120 drones and 12 missiles, including several ballistic missiles in overnight strikes that killed at least 8 people. The US military launches a fresh wave of strikes on Iran, marking the third round of attacks this week after Tehran targeted a Cyprus-flagged container ship transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Secretary of War Hegseth says Iran will pay for its poor choice. Lebanese officials confirmed to AFP that Beirut will participate in planned talks with Israel next week after previously making an Israeli withdrawal from certain areas, a condition for joining the negotiations. "15 Indian tourists killed after the speedboat they were traveling in capsized off Vietnam's Phu Quoc Island. President Murmu, PM Modi expressed grief. Several New York Times journalists summoned to testify under oath after they reported alleged security concerns involving President Trump's new Air Force One plane.